Have you ever given someone a second chance who you should not have given a second chance to? Have you ever gone back to the person who has already proven to you that they're not trustworthy? Have you ever just gone back to the person who hurt you and keep thinking, well, maybe this time around it'll be different, or you kind of justify it away? Do you have a pattern of being in a relationship with someone who you know isn't treating you well, but you just can't seem to stop the cycle? It almost feels like an addiction. I want to take today as an opportunity to really break down the psychology behind why you might be going back to the person who you know all your friends have told you, maybe your therapist has told you, maybe your family has told you is not right for you. And so ultimately, the goal is so that with this insight into yourself, that you then can start to break the cycle. And I will also offer some guidance on how to break the cycle. But I do think that once you understand the deeper psychology behind why you keep going back, or why you keep giving this person another chance, or why you feel like you can't let go of this person who's not wrong for you, all of the above, then I think this episode is going to really help. I want to offer you a perspective that I feel pretty confident that you haven't heard before, because it's not something that's talked about on social media. We hear a lot about the cycles of unhealthy relationships and its impact on the nervous system, like being sort of like addicted to the adrenaline and to the high and to the roller coaster. You may have even heard theories about we tend to go for the person who's familiar to us, even if that familiarity is unhealthy. All these theories, they all play a role in the larger picture. But here is something else that I really want you to consider, and I will share it first in a story. I was once working with someone, this was a few years ago, who kept on going back to this man who was really wrong for her and also not good for her. So what do I mean by that? He was wrong for her because he didn't want the same things out of life that she wanted. But even worse, he just did not treat her well. He didn't treat her with respect. And it's not just that they didn't have the same values. He cheated on her repeatedly. He would make her feel like she was crazy when she was having, strong emotions about their connection. And I'm not creating a story, or I'm not relaying a story where there's like the villain and the victim, because she has full responsibility for her life, and she brought unhealthy things to their dynamic as well. But the bottom line is that this was not a man who treated her with the respect that every single person deserves. And it was repeated over and over and over again. And then she would find out something, like he was, on the day that he said he loved her, like he was saying, "I love you" to another woman. I mean, just like the worst of the worst. And then she would get really, really strong and just be like, "That's it, I'm done." Because what happens is that when you finally find the courage to break up with them, even though you keep going back to them, it's when the pain of being with them is greater than the pain of not being with them. So everyone has their own threshold. Everyone has their own breaking point. And so she would reach these breaking points, and then she would end it. And she would have a period of some strength and maybe go see a therapist and, figure out her stuff. And then eventually, sometimes it'd be weeks, sometimes it would be months, she would end up going back to him in a more casual way and then lie to herself and thus lie to others, but most importantly, lie to herself that, it's just for right now. I know this is not right, but whatever, that kind of thing, that kind of justification. And she had tried for over a year of going back and forth with this guy, trying to figure out how to keep him out of her life. She's even considered moving states, and she was in therapy. And it was only till I helped her realize something, which was this. You have to look at it through the lens of a pattern. The pattern is not just, oh, I break up with them, then a few months later I take them back. The pattern is something much deeper, which is what is actually going on in your emotional and psychological and literal world when you decide to make that fatal choice. I'm being a little dramatic, it's not fatal, but that terrible choice to sleep with them again, hang out with them again, answer their call, respond their text, crack that window or that door open any amount, even if it's slight, to let them back in, because they will keep trying to get in. People who just don't treat others well and keep repeating these cycles unconsciously rely on the weakness of the person letting them in. But why is there that moment of quote unquote weakness? Well, it's not because you're weak. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's not because you're fucked up. It's not because you are completely traumatized. I mean, yes, trauma can play a role in it, but the worst thing that I see people do is then they internalize the story of I'm just weak, I don't know what I'm doing, and it perpetuates the low self-esteem. But that's not the reason why you're taking them back. That's not the reason why you're cracking the door open or you're cracking the window open for them to seep in. That's not why you answered the text. You have to look at what's going on with you when you do let them back in. This episode is sponsored by Quince. I love Quince. They have 100% European linen dresses and shorts from like $30 and Italian leather platform sandals. It's really amazing. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, and they use premium fabrics and finishes. Do not hesitate. Give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/onlove for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/onlove to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/onlove. And so when I worked with this woman, she was about, mid to late 30s. And when I worked with her, there was a few things going on. Like I knew about her childhood trauma, and I'll get into that in a moment. I knew about all this stuff. But what was the missing piece? And it was this. Every time she let him back, she was in her pattern of feeling lost, lonely, untethered. You see, she had a pattern separate from this relationship with this man of not really dedicating the time and effort to figure out what she wanted from her life. She kept on procrastinating. And she also was living in a state away from her family. And she was going through almost like a several-year-long existential crisis of who am I? What do I want to do with my life? Do I want to get married? What's going to make me happy? And can I support myself financially? These are like real things that a lot of people, so many of us go through, that sort of existential pain. And so when she would walk away from him, she would have this sort of renewed strength, and she would hang out with certain friends, and she would develop these habits, and she would feel supported. But then she would return to her quote unquote emotional home. And her emotional home was, I'm not good enough. I feel lonely. I don't know what I want to do. Those were the thoughts. And it led her to the emotions of feeling insecure, unsafe, and disconnected. So what happens when you feel insecure or unsafe emotionally, existentially, and disconnected, untethered? What do we need more than anything else when we are experiencing those things? We need familiarity. And he was very familiar. You see, most of the time when we are engaging in any way with someone who's terribly wrong for us or just terrible to us, most of the time, they're not awful all the time. And most of the time, there is a connection there. And there are moments of closeness and intimacy. It's not all bad all the time. It's just the reality is that those pockets of good time are definitely not enough. So we cling to that familiarity. Well, I know this person, they know me. Some of the language, some of the excuses and the lies she would tell herself, that she would hypnotize herself with, was, well, he knows my history, he knows my trauma, he's met my family, he's familiar, And so it wasn't about him. He was a metaphor. It was about, she had a pattern that had been going on well before she even met this man, of feeling motivated to figure out what she wanted to do, but then, as we all tend to have as human beings, feeling a little lost. But instead of taking steps to really figure it out, she would actually take steps to just have male attention. And that would be the thing, love, lust, sex, all of it, that companionship that would distract her from the deeper problem that she was facing inside herself, which is, how can I build a life that is meaningful to me? Not perfect, but a life in where I am able to get my needs met, my needs for connection, my needs for security and stability, my needs for growth. And so really the reality of this is that not able to really get your needs met translates to, let me get my needs met in the way that is familiar, even if it's not good for me. And this is what we unconsciously do all the time. It's not that we're weak. It's that you are unconsciously trying to get your needs met, and you're doing it in a way that is disempowering and destructive and wasting your life and your time, versus a way that's actually going to really help you. This episode is sponsored by Fatty 15. And my question to you is, how much time, money, and energy have you spent on health, wellness, and beauty products to look and, much more importantly, feel healthier and younger? I'm so excited to share with you all C15 from Fatty 15. It is the first emerging essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. We now know that C15 strengthens our cells and is a key healthy aging nutrient. which actually helps to slow biological aging at the cellular level. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Jillian and using code Jillian at checkout. Now, this is the role of us coaches and therapists and mentors, is to come in and to help people discover that for themselves. Some people, it comes more naturally to them. Some people have family members that help them. Some people have, more things stacked against them in terms of childhood trauma or financial stuff, so it makes it more difficult. But that is still what we are tasked with. It's asking yourself, if this person who I keep going back to, who's terrible and totally wrong and hurts me, if there was a void that he could fulfill inside of me, what would that void be? And when you ask yourself that question, what you will find is needs unmet. And you think that this person is going to fulfill those needs, and they will very temporarily when you are in the high of reconnection. But there's a pattern to that relationship too. Usually you get back together, things are good, you make promises, things are cool, or you're feeling strong, you know not to rely too much on them. So you think, you give yourself the illusion of control that you can handle the way the relationship is. Oh, this is just how it is. It's fine. I'm not expecting anything more. All these games that we play with ourselves. We think other people play games with us. We play the most amount of games with ourselves. And then it just falls into the same pattern, like, damn, he did this, because we can't spend consistent time with someone romantically and not have expectations. You can tell yourself as much as you want. You can lie as much as you want to yourself, but you will always be disappointed because you will always have the expectation that something is going to emerge from it. But then that relationship goes back into its pattern, and then you get strong. You decide the pain of being with them is way worse than the pain of the void of not being with them. So you break up with them, you feel strong, then you go about your life, then you go back into your pattern of what do I want to do in life, or whatever your pattern is, your emotional anchor, your emotional center of gravity, the thoughts, the thing that you keep going to, and then you go, let me respond to that text. Because it'll scratch that itch that I have not yet learned how to scratch myself. I have not yet learned how to even get rid of that itch entirely because I don't know how to meet my needs. It's not that you're weak. It's not just a nervous system thing. It is not just trauma. It is a pattern. And once you can identify your pattern of what is going on every time you crack the door open or the window open or your phone open just a little bit to let them back in. What is your pattern? Write it down. Get what's going on in your life. What are you feeling? Are you feeling untethered? Are you feeling disconnected? Are you feeling unsafe? Are you feeling unstable? Are you feeling lonely? All those things. Then you, as a human being, just like all of us, are going to do your very best to meet your needs, because we are all on an unconscious level until we become more conscious. We are all working our asses off to try to get our needs met. And these really unhealthy relationships, which are going nowhere, where you're treated poorly, where it's like the most toxic situationship ever, that is a way to get your needs met, and it is not healthy. The surface level solution is break up with that person, block them, and never go back to them. But underneath that, the real healing is, what is the void, the need that I am trying to fulfill by being with them? And do I have the courage, or am I willing? You do have the courage, but are you willing to access the courage that already lives inside of you to face yourself and to face the things that you need to face, so that you don't use this person and your connection with them for a short-term fix, for the things that are ailing you. This episode is sponsored by Function. Function Health is about taking control of your health through data instead of guessing what's inside your body. Function Health is beyond traditional healthcare. Most traditional annual checkups only cover about 19 biomarkers. Function Health goes 5 times deeper, giving a comprehensive view that allows you to catch potential issues early and take proactive action. And it matters because lifespans are decreasing and chronic conditions are rising, and cancer is becoming more common in younger people. So knowing what's happening inside is key to prevention, which is why this kind of testing is so incredibly important. And by the way, Function currently has a waitlist, but they are offering my audience the chance to skip it, which is so great. Head to functionhealth.com/JOL or enter JOL when signing up to skip the waitlist. This episode is sponsored by O Positive. O Positive is a women's health company. They offer a range of symptom-targeting supplements that support women at every stage of life, from their first period to well beyond their last. And they are really proud to have best-selling women's health products at Target and on Amazon. In fact, their one product, URO, Vaginal Probiotics, is one of the top 5 supplements on Amazon. And they have multiple #1 products in Target for intimate care, PMS, and menopause categories. And what makes them special is that they create real results with ingredients that are actually backed by clinical studies and are actually shaped by board-certified doctors. So when taken 2 capsules a day, Euro delivers noticeable benefits within 8 weeks, and you may actually see results sooner. Take proactive care of your health and head to opositive.com/JOL or enter JOL at checkout for 25% off your first purchase. That's opositive.com/JOL for 25% off. This is why so much of this requires deeper inner work. And the inner work is just being willing to look yourself in the mirror, hence my book, It Begins With You, and to build more awareness. You have to understand your emotional patterns, because our deeper emotional patterns determine how fulfilled we're going to be in life, in work, how much money we're going to make or not make, the kind of love that we have, the kind of friendships that we have, how we treat our bodies, all boils down to deeper emotional patterns. If you fall into bad habits, whatever that is, eating like crap, drinking too much, bad relationships, drinking, whatever it is, you can't just break the habit. You have to understand that the habit is contextual and it is based on something that is going on emotionally. And this is why it's become so popular to talk about nervous system regulation, because if we can regulate our systems, then we can prevent ourselves from slipping into bad habits. And then we have to replace it, obviously, with better habits. It's kind of how it goes. So it takes a lot of courage, and there isn't a chicken or an egg scenario when it comes to this. Sometimes it's you have to completely block them. First, you have to have the courage to just walk away. But then you have to have the courage to do the work that needs to happen in order for you not to fall back into that pattern. Because here's the thing, that emotional pattern is not going to be broken right away. You're going to fall into it again. But the point of becoming more conscious, that point is to say, oh, I'm like entertaining the idea of this person again, coming back into my life. I'm entertaining calling her or answering her call or calling him or answering his call. Why? Because I can bet if you're having an awesome time, if you're happy, if you're joyful, or even if you're not happy or joyful, but you are feeling purposeful and you are distracted with responsibility that gives your life meaning and direction, they're not going to be as tempting to you. You know, maybe you're spending You're getting your needs met for connection in other ways, in helping others, and helping yourself, and the work that you do, and your friendships. Now, I know that's not the same thing as romantic attention, but when you're filled up in other ways, you actually give yourself the internal strength to say, yeah, I can wait on the romance, or I can wait on the physical intimacy and make sure that I'm doing that with someone who's respectful rather than that. I'm not going back to that. And so if you are continuing to go back to someone or giving someone, a second chance and all that, rather than going into the whole story of like, they're the villain and they're horrible and I'm the victim, or, oh, I missed them, that whole thing, replace all that storytelling with what's going on with me right now. What am I going through right now emotionally that's making it so that I feel tempted to go back to this person or to talk to them? Why am I so lonely and bored? Is it really that I'm lonely or bored, or am I deeply unfulfilled? Am I feeling untethered? Am I feeling sad? What do I think? What need are they going to fulfill by being in my life right now? And then it takes resilience, and it takes courage, and it also takes understanding that if you keep going back to this person, let's say you're in your 30s, you're gonna wake up in your 40s, your 50s, and be like, wow, how much time did I waste on this person? I know people women, look, men do this too all the time, but for this particular example, I know women who made it so that they could never have children because they wasted so much time with someone and then it became too late. Once you have the awareness of what you're going through in your life, so the deeper emotional pattern that needs your attention and needs to be addressed, it's begging for your attention. And you combine that with really picturing yourself 10 years down the road, like knowing that you'd wasted that time, it's just so not worth it. And then when you start to face yourself, maybe that will mean going into a deeper dive of, oh, I never saw my mom treated well, or I never saw my father treated well, so I don't really have any examples of what it is to be treated with respect in a relationship. I better spend some time with people who are in relationships where there's respect. Not perfect, but at least there's respect. When you start to do the deeper work, then you can understand the trauma that may have happened because of it. But it's not enough to know the trauma. You have to understand the pattern. And then that will absolutely change everything. And it changed everything for her. So when she finally left, and then she would start to get that itch again, she was like, I'm starting to do that again. Holy crap, I want to go directly to him. Wow, it's not that I'm weak. I am just literally being controlled by unconscious patterning. I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to figure out how to feel more tethered. She had to make really big decisions in her life. And once she started to build a life that had deeper meaning because her needs were being fulfilled, and therefore the voids inside of her started to shrink, her self-worth grew proportional to how much and how well she was able to meet her needs. And that is how she was able to untether herself from a highly repetitive and highly unhealthy situation. And so I leave you with this. Go back to all the times in your mind's eye of the times where you opened up that door, that conversation, when you opened up the door just enough to entertain going back to this person. Ask yourself, what was going on during that time for you? How were you feeling? Were there other stressors? Was there work stress or family stress happening at that time? Have to understand the context. And then see if there is a pattern. See if you can identify a pattern that is like the through line, the thread that weaves all these past experiences together. And then you start to understand your unconscious patterns and your emotional patterns. And then that will be so healing in of itself. Maybe you want to work with a mentor, a coach, a therapist. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's finally deciding to write that book that you've always wanted to write, or make that move that you've always wanted to make. Oftentimes what you'll discover, like, you just have to take that chance on yourself and hire or work with or read whatever books or listen to whatever podcasts to help you create that life that you want. Not perfect, but the life that you want, filled with more meaning. And you can even write down all those needs that you are trying to fulfill in this person, because more times than not, what's driving you is familiarity. The familiarity is what helps you meet your need for connection, what helps you meet your need for some sort of safety, even though paradoxically it's unsafe. So if you really resonate with that, or for some people, it might be that your life is too routinized, too boring, not enough meaning, and going to that person gives you a sense of, adventure in life. Figure out the void that they're filling, and then figure out how to meet those needs in ways that actually grow you as a person, that nourishes you, that makes you feel more whole, that matures you, and that protects you from relationships that gravely diminish the quality of your life. So I hope this helps. Please send this to anyone who you think needs to hear this, because you never know whose life you could be changing for the better by sharing this episode with them. And then, of course, if you're interested in becoming more conscious and making better decisions in your life and in love and building the life that you want, always consider my membership, The Conscious Woman. Enrollment is closed, but you can always join the waitlist. The waitlist is below. And that's it. Until next time, and I thank you for listening and for watching Jillian on Love. Jillian on Love is a QCODE production, executive produced by David Henning and Steve Wilson, produced and edited by Travis Howe, music by Will Tendy.